Hi, this is Rob from Grappling Hook. Let's talk about how you think about systems as you develop strategy for your cannabis business. Okay, so let's get started. What? What are systems? Systems, anything repeatable, right? You can automate it. You can create a snippet of code. You can do a loop. It's something you can train someone else to do, right? That you can pass on, that you can break down the steps, almost like when they do a franchise for restaurants, right? So that's what a system is. A system is a way to do something that you can easily pass on. Why do you want to be thinking about these? Well, it can lead to training, first of all. It allows you to allocate work. Why else do you want to think about your systems? Well, sometimes you're going to want to use them to save time. You definitely want to use them for training. And the more you have in place, the easier it is to have consistency. So think about that. So, all right, who's going to come up with your systems? Well, start with your team. Talk about it with your team. What is something, what are possible systems? You have to brainstorm with them. Other industries may offer ideas for this. Look at other industries. When I was working with the Village Green in Cincinnati, we had no front desk greet system. So we actually looked to the restaurant industry, their hostess, and implemented a system like what a hostess would do when you come into a restaurant. And it worked marvelous. It evolved into what we called a greeter position. So looking to other industries as well, and then even reaching out to your users. Do some sample runs with them. Just throw it out there. Try something. Look and see a system that you can use with your users as well, right? Be creative. It doesn't have to be just those three, but that's an example who you would turn to in regards to your systems. Okay? So when are you going to be dealing with this? The sooner is better. If you get them into a document, one spot. This is why I'm a fan of the service blueprint, because you can keep all this other stuff we've been talking about. You can keep a log of the people, all these ideas, all the touch points. You're also you put this here so it lives there. It's all living together, and you can start to see it as a bigger picture. So it really, when you implement this, it's gonna when is determined by your overall strategy, right? And you kind of want to think about your company culture, because if you try and make things too efficient, to the fact where you're dehumanizing or disrespecting someone, you're going to end up with, resistance. And not the good kind of resistance. Some of that friction is good to have. That's not always good friction, and it may end up working against you. So that's why you're thinking about these, and that's why you're working with your team, with your stakeholders, to get ideas from them. All right. So, and if you think of this stuff early on, you're going to save yourself time and money. All right. So think about it that way. So where are we going to implement these systems? Well, throughout your project, right? So go back to the service steps that we went through earlier. Go and watch that video if you haven't already. If you know how to develop your steps, your project steps, like your big chunks, you're going to look at systems for each one of those chunks. Pretty simple, right? And then under this, so if it's an online store, under purchase, we know we're going to have a system for processing credit cards. We're going to have a system for receiving notifications. We're going to have a system for thanking the customer. Just as examples. And remember, in this example, but I pay attention there, there's a front stage systems as well as there's backstage systems. So front stage systems, thank you to the customer. That front stage means it's something that the user is seeing. Your backstage systems, which would be receiving notification, the setup of the payment processing, that back end stuff. That's your backstage processes, and those need to be considered too, because these are the things that are going to fill into your business. What do they call that? Well, I use a business model canvas to suss it out, but a business model generally is, for some of you, especially if you're going for money, you're going to need a business model. If you're trying to rip this out and get an idea of things, business model canvas, and I'll do a video on that someday. Okay. In fact, if you go to my blog, there's probably some notes on it, and just stay tuned. So, continuing on, how are we going to deal with these systems? Well, first of all, just by knowing what they are, dropping them into your blueprint will allow you to begin to develop those systems. You say, okay, this day we're going to record how we did this. So now we have a record, and when somebody comes in, just put them in front of the video. Boom, they learn how to do it. That's an example of when. Also, how are we going to figure out these systems? Well, use lateral thinking. And I will do something on that one day. But learn lateral thinking to get ideas out. It doesn't always have to be the right system, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah? Research. So letting what you're working on inform. So you're going to be pulling from that research. What good systems are out there somebody else is doing? Pull from that. Just like how I talked about when for our greeter, we pulled the hostess system from a restaurant. And really what a big one is open communication. So the more stakeholders, the more people who are affected by what you're working on, that's you, your team, people who are going to be using it, the people who fund it, anyone who's affected, if you can get them all in the room at the same time, then brilliant, because then you're going to really get a better idea of the systems. If you can at least get to each one of those samplings, then you'll still get a good idea of what systems you are, and you can begin to implement that. So think about that. Go back, check out how to set up your service journey map, and think about the systems for each stage of your service journey, and think about it, see what you can do, see what you can begin to implement, and see if it makes a difference. Okay? All right, this is Rob. It's been good talking with you. Have a good one. Remember, Grappling Hook is here to get you over hills and over walls.